Forget the wall. Donald Trump is planning on building something even bigger.
And you know, those domes are starting to work. I didn't like it when Ronald Reagan suggested it because we didn't have the technology. We do have the technology now. And we're going to build a giant dome over our country to protect us from a hostile source.
You idiot.
Stupid. Okay. What do you mean? What do you mean? He's a very stable genius. What are you talking about? Now, to be fair, I don't think he's talking about an actual physical dome. How insane would it be if he tried to build a, like, biodome? Okay. Or, like, you know, what's in those sci-fi series, for example, where your cities on Mars that are encased in a big giant glass dome. No, I think that what he meant is something like Israel's Iron Dome, which is a missile defense system and not a gigantic metal dome. Just to be clear, it's not an actual Iron Dome. Why do I have to say that? Well, remember, this is a guy who thought that stealth planes were literally invisible.
Brand new F-35s, fighter jets. They're stealth. You can't see them.
You can't see them. They're stealth. They're invisible. They got a cloaking device. Now, look, in the same speech, he did say that I don't think we should be giving all this money to different countries to develop their, you know, these missile defense systems. And I agree with that to a point, because I don't think we should be giving money to countries like Israel to have them turn around and buy those weapons from our, you know, military industrial complex. Okay. But unlike Donald Trump, instead of building a nonsensical missile defense system or a literal Iron Dome around our country, which, again, impossible, I would rather have us spend money on healthcare. I know, right? Crazy. Now, he says, though, well, we got to protect ourselves from a hostile source. Who? Who exactly? Mexico? Canada? Don't really think that that's going to happen, okay? Look, Iron Dome shoots down rockets from Hamas, for example, all the time. It's like 90% effective. Now, we don't have the equivalent to that here because there's nobody shooting rockets into Texas. That said, do we have missile defense systems? Yes, we do. We do have missile defense systems. And so what this would be is complete and utter waste of money, kind of like Donald Trump's border wall. Which, to be fair, he said, well, Mexico was going to pay for it. I know, laugh along with me, right? Speaking of laughing at things that he says, this next video, I just want to share it with you because it's absolutely hilarious.
You know, when I watch our guys operate those things, it's unbelievable. Missile coming in. These geniuses sit down. Most of them are, you know, they're from MIT, but they sit down, bing, 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 boom. It's gone. It's amazing.
I love that he actually made the sound of the missile. They're the geniuses that are shooting the missiles down. Come on. You know you love it, all right?
Bing, 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 boom. It's gone.
Look, you know, the geniuses, they're shooting the missiles down. Well, actually, I don't think anybody's actually pushing any buttons. Iron Dome is more of an autonomous system, which relies on radar to detect threats, by the way. It relays the information to something called the Battle Management Computer, which determines if a missile is heading towards a populated area, and if it is, it fires an interceptor missile to destroy it in midair. That's how it works, okay? I don't know how many actual people are there pushing the buttons to launch the missiles, okay? That said, Trump had, in the same speech, talked about Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative. Remember, he said, well, I didn't like it when Ronald Reagan did it because we didn't have the technology. Okay, well, here's the thing. SDI is actually way different than Iron Dome. SDI was much bigger in scope, designed to shoot down nuclear missiles from, for example, at the time, Soviet Union. Okay? Now, it actually involved also putting weapons into space. That's not what Iron Dome is. Iron Dome has ground-based missiles. Now, there are issues with putting weapons into space. For one, it's actually really difficult, it's really expensive, and would violate several treaties against the weaponization of space. So he was right, though, when he said we didn't quite have the technology back then. Well, that's because some of the ideas in the SDI were kind of out there. Particle beam weapons, You had X-ray lasers, satellite-mounted rail guns, a laser that would even bounce off ground-based mirrors at moving targets. Okay, now, of course, in 1987, the American Physical Society concluded the technologies being considered were decades away from being ready for use, and at least another decade of research was required to know whether such a system was even possible. Add to the fact that Ashley wasn't very popular, not with Congress. It would have been, as I mentioned, very expensive. Some of the technologies didn't exist, would break international treaties, and the entire reason for developing it in the first place, to defend against Soviet missiles, well, I mean, it was no longer there because the Soviet Union fell apart. And so President Clinton actually had officially ended the SDI program in 1993. So, again, doesn't make any sense. That said, counterpoint.
Bing, 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 boom. It's gone.
Look, Donald Trump is weirdly obsessed with space. I get it, right? I like space. I like tacos. He made the Space Force, which again, kind of useless, not really necessary. And now apparently he's talking about bringing back the SDI in some form or another. Look, if he becomes president again, obviously he's going to put in loyalists who are going to do all sorts of insane, nonsensical, and expensive things that are probably dumber, maybe not as dumb, to be fair, than building an actual literal dome